As a reaction, see they trade the Tinubu tax reform bill, when Northerners they provoke, say the tax bill go impoverish them because they don't get consumption capacity. Presidency don't come and come talk, say make Northerners metete, say make they relax. Say the tax reform bill no be wetin go impoverish the North like wetin they talk. Say na misconception and misunderstanding between the Northern governors. Now they bring all this talk.
And again, good to see you guys. We're back together again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, all right. To look at the papers this morning with us, we have Chuks Akunna. He is the Executive Director of Authority newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We begin with this day newspaper. Presidency, no provision will impoverish North in tax bills. Tinubu welcomes public debate generated by proposed law. The presidency is reacting to the controversy on the 4 tax reform bills, saying no provision will make the North poorer. It said it will also not make southern states like Lagos and Rivers more affluent. The bill will not be scrapped, and it says the bill will not scrap some national agencies as is being speculated. I think one of the arguments is that a lot of reactions to this is based on hearsay, which has polarized the nation. The good thing, though, is that there's an avenue for groups and individuals to go for the public hearing. The bill is not passed yet. That means it can be amended after discussions. Chuks.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head. The fact is that there's a lot of hearsay, and the presidency has been struggling to actually clarify the issues. Very interestingly, a state like Benue State is a key northern state. It's a middle belt. Benue State has thrown its weight behind the tax reform bill, which is very interesting because, you know, basically we have thought that it was an entire northern thing. But I think ignorance, nothing, you said knowledge is power. And people like Peter Obi, presidential candidate of Labour Party in the last election, has thrown his weight behind this tax reform bill, but he said that more engagement in there to be done. And I think that's what the federal government is doing now, or is about to do now. They're trying to say, okay, let us engage and re-engage. That, you know, the North has nothing to fear, that it's not aimed at skewing revenue generation in favor of the southern states. That every state, every part of Nigeria is bound to actually prosper as a result of when these tax reform bills are passed. That it is in the best interest of Nigerians, all of Nigeria, to get this passed into law.
Well, not in its current form. Some say, you know, there has to be amendments here and there. That is why this debate is ongoing, Charles.
Yeah, there is the debate that's ongoing, but rest assured that what the presidency did say is that the bill will certainly be passed. And that was also buttressed by the a member of the House of Representatives, a Senator, Seriake Dixon, who did say, yes, of course, we are resting the matter now for public debate to go on, but we will pass the bill eventually. So take that to the bank. The bill will be passed nonetheless.
Well, it's not a dictatorship.
Absolutely
the bill
not.
will be passed, but this is a democracy.
It is a democracy indeed.
So people need to make their contributions, and if there are areas that people feel is not good for the country, that is why we have amendments or opportunities to amend.
Absolutely.
Let's look at Delhi
eventually.
Right. Let's look at Delhi Independent. Governors back administrative financial autonomy for local governments. The Nigerian Governors Forum has expressed strong backing for the autonomy of local government areas, both administratively and financially. Majority of states have now conducted LG elections, and states say they are committed to a smooth transition to autonomy at that level. I mean, this is good news coming from the Nigerian governors as a body. However, the real challenge will be, all states, would they be willing to follow through? It's easier said than done, isn't it, Chuks?
Yes, exactly. But the truth remains that whether we like it or not, I think nearly all the 36 states now have elected council chairmen, councils, council leadership. But then, like you said, it's easier said than done. But the truth also remains that there has been a growing agitation for a very long time, since 2003, when the tenure of the first 2002, when the tenure of the first elected council chairman in Nigeria lapsed. So, and we all saw how the Supreme Court ruled and how many governors scrambled to actually put elected representatives in place at the local government level. But then the fact remains that most of the persons that emerged in the last council elections were cronies of the governors in the states, and that was why it was easy for states and for parties of incumbent governors to actually sweep the post at the local government level. But then let us see, time they say will tell. Let's see how far this is going to yield dividends of democracy for Nigerians.
I know, Chuks, it's good that you raised that point about some of the local government chairmen elected recently being cronies of the governors. I think at this one, when we talk about this, it also raises the responsibility of local government chairmen, because while they may have autonomy, which is essential, they also have to be efficient and effective at that level. They don't want to become the governors that they are running away from.
I agree very much with both what you have both brought up. With the local government elections we have seen this year, I do not believe there's one state where the incumbent governor's party has lost up to 10% of the vote. You would see nearly 100% of the local government chairmen or councillors that are being elected in the past year coming from the party of the governor, and so that makes you question the independence of the local government chairman, like the true independence. We know the constitutional independence, but the independence in practice. And also, I'm not surprised that they're calling for this, that the Governors Forum is saying this, but I feel it's because our local government is not as powerful, it's not as empowered as it should be. And all politics is local, and a lot of our insecurity is due to the weakness of the local government. So I'm not surprised that the Governors Forum has come out to say this, because it's also showing up power for themselves.
How local government's administration has changed. In 1999, at least for 4 years, it was totally different. They were truly independent, but let's see whether we'll get back to that space. Let's look at the Punch. EFCC seizes 753 duplex estate houses of ex-governor. It was a top shot. This seizure by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is the largest asset recovery since its establishment. The recovered asset spans 150,500 square meters. It comprises 753 units of duplexes and other apartments. It's owned by a former top official of government, we're told. This is typical. Abuja is littered with houses and estates that are fraudulently acquired. This type of forfeiture does ensure that criminals are stopped from enjoying the proceeds of unlawful activities. Chokes.
Yes, many congratulations to the EFCC chairman. The biggest haul, the biggest achievement, if you ask me, the biggest seizure, the biggest forfeiture by anybody in Nigeria history, since 2003 when the EFCC was established. And I like what the EFCC chairman said a few days ago when members of the House of Reps committee visited. It's not enough to spend so much. It shouldn't be double jeopardy for Nigerians. It's bad enough that people looted our treasury, and then we shouldn't also spend a lot of money trying to recover this loot. So if the EFCC is able to negotiate with the person, and is able to, the person is able to forfeit these assets, the assets, at the end of the day, comes back to the hands of Nigerians, the public, the taxpayers, for whom this money was intended for in the first place. It's a win-win for Nigerians. So it's a very good thing that EFCC was able to secure this. It's a very big plus for the EFCC. For many who have been criticizing the EFCC chairman that he's not been doing well, here we are. It's a very big one for the EFCC, and a very big plus. For those of us who don't understand what numbers are, 15,500 square meters is about 15.5 hectares. That's a huge swath of land. And I think it's one of the biggest estates in Abuja. So for government to actually, for a government that is talking about building houses for Nigerians, here we are with nearly 1,000 houses, and I'm sure the government will know what to do with these houses. Good one for FCC.
Charles, when you look at Abuja, this kind of unlawful activities affects the housing sector actually.
Absolutely.
You do have big houses in Abuja everywhere, and people can't afford them, and a lot of them are empty because the market is totally skewed because of this kind of fraudulent activities.
Yes, of course. 750 units of duplexes and other apartments. Just the duplexes alone, and definitely not occupied yet. So I first of all, I'm even thinking the funds to build, just to pay house rent alone, pay for one of those apartments as rent, not to talk of erecting one of those units. So where are those funds really coming from? And then, of course, now that they are in the hands of government, what exactly will the government do, about it? Are they going to be put out there either for rent or to house government officials? That's a very big question. But then, of course, the identity of the official is being concealed. What happened to name and shame? And then, of course, he has forfeited 750 units. Is that all he has?
Well, usually they negotiate, when it comes to these kind of things, they negotiate, and sometimes they are made to return some monies, return some properties while they are let go with other properties.
So there's still some property, illegally acquired property left in his possession?
We're not sure. It wasn't mentioned.
It would have to be at some point, because 753, oh my goodness, that is a staggering number.
It's a negotiated, collection.
I think it's absolutely abhorrent that instead of us seeing consequences for illegal actions, we're seeing people pay tithe to the EFCC, because this is what it is. It's that you steal a lot, and then if you can pay a little bit of that or give back some more, then you go about your lives. And we have no idea how much was actually stolen from Nigeria's future and from our current purse, because we had the collection of the $43 million in an apartment in Lagos. It was $43 million, a couple million naira, a couple £1,000, and no one can say what that money went to afterwards.
Absolutely.
They would go to a university and they would take students out of the university and say that they're committing fraud, and they'll put their names and their faces on the internet, and then they'll take and they do not care about those students' future. They do not care about finding them guilty in a court of law. But then they would take a government official who has actually looted the country and protect his identity.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at The Guardian. The Guardian this morning: states face subsidy burden as Lagos leads with $10 billion deal legislation. And Nigeria raises $2.2 billion from latest Euro bond auction. Then Punch newspaper: PDP others, we just looked at Punch, but one other story there: PDP others urge talks as presidency defends bill still under tax reform bill. Let's look at Daily Trust: 229 police officers killed in 22 months. Minimum wage workers shot FCT, Kaduna, Nasarawa, others. And there's this interesting story: Borno to construct North's first metro rail network. That metro rail network will be within the state. It's an interesting development, and hopefully other states follow suit. And then, why we moved our daughter's wedding to Barau's son to Abuja, Bayero's family. We also have here Tribune: Borno to build North's first intra-city rail network again. TED Fund Nasani NITDA won't be scrapped, presidency clarifies. Minimum wage states take on NLC. That's for that. Let's also look at Daily Sun. We have Daily Sun: minimum wage again, NLC vows to escalate action over Wifuru's threat to sack striking workers. State of the Nation: we either kill Nigeria or fix it. Obi of Onitsha. Then senators, reps beam searchlight on local governments. Then to the international headlines, Daily Graphic, Road to Jubilee House, who wins Greater Accra? Ghana votes 2024, 4 days to voting, and we have a quote here again. If you don't vote, you lose the right to complain, according to John Carlin. Yolanda, let's bring you in here. Can you help us unpack this quote and why you think this has made the front page?
You know, as crude as it sounds and very straightforward, if you don't vote, you lose the right to complain, I think it's the best statement for this election, because if you don't vote, you lose the right to complain. You can't come later on and say, oh, I didn't get the chance to do this, or I don't like this, or you don't get the chance to say that. If you don't vote, you don't put in your say, you don't get the right to complain about what happens.
All right, Citizen newspaper, Land Bill threat to food security. With the Land Expropriation Bill ready to be signed into law, farming organization TLU South Africa has called on citizens to stand with them in defending their property rights. They say the bill, which awaits the president's signature, is a threat to food security. As a result of this bill, many farmers have stopped long-term investment in agriculture as they are unsure of the future. I mean, Yolanda, again, this is a double-edged sword, you know, reassigning lands, you know, to people who own them ancestrally. They're trying to create justice for those who suffered injustice during apartheid. At the same time, if it's not done carefully, it is true that this could provoke crisis, especially food insecurity.
Absolutely. I can't help but be reminded of what happened to Zimbabwe when this happened many years ago. Zimbabwe suffered tremendously from land being taken from one and given to another. And it's not been specified, you know, as when you look at the root level of the skills, the people who are having the land taken from them, do they have the skills for those that are being handed this new land? Do they know what to do with it? Do they know how to farm? And there's all types of different things when it comes to food security. There's farming, there's dairy, and all of that is skill upon skill upon skill. And it's not something you can take for granted. It's not like just taking one job and giving it to another and saying, okay, I give you 6 months to learn. That's not how it works. And it's quite scary. It's quite scary.
Right, Chooks, but at the end of the day, people who owned the lands ancestrally who were dislodged do have a point here.
Yes, they do. They do, but you know, it's a delicate balancing act. We saw it happen in the 70s in Uganda when Idi Amin, you know, seized the property of Asians, when he deported Asians and said, okay, I hand you this, you know, you run this supermarket, you do this, you do that. And it's a delicate balancing act, because even when the late Mugabe seized lands from white farmers in Zimbabwe and handed them over to blacks, you know, end of the day, what happened? You know, Uganda suffered for that. So, like I said, you know, delicate balancing act. Yes, these people, they were the original owners of this land. Yeah, you have white farmers, very big farmers who have the expertise. Then you want to take this land back. Yeah, you need to actually address this problem and actually redress the injustices of the past. But then it has to be done in a way that will not hurt the black owners of this land, the original owners of this land, or the big white farmers.
Times, Trump threatens to release rioters after Biden pardons son. President-elect Donald Trump has pledged to revive his promise to free jailed January 6 rioters after President Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter. Biden had previously said he will not pardon Hunter, but he made a stunning turnabout, and this has shocked Americans. Now Trump says, you know, January 6 rioters may be let off the hook. I mean, this is all stuff made in movies, to be honest. You know, Trump himself pardoned his father-in-law, Charles Kushner, during his own time. And now he's going to make Charles Kushner ambassador to France. He's also nominated his father-in-law, Massad Boulos, as senior advisor on Arab and Middle Eastern affairs. I mean, when you look at everything that is happening, it looks like a third world country and not a first world country, Charles.
See, apparently Biden must have gotten wind of some information that if he did not pardon his son. Trump coming in, his successor, would definitely make a very big political mileage out of that. So keep my son out of Trump's clutches by pardoning him.
That's right.
After all, Trump did pardon his own father-in-law, so excuse me, quid pro quo.
Yes, I mean that's the Jared Kushner, Ivanka's husband's father.
Yes.
So his in-laws, he's given his in-laws free passes. He's given them new positions. His in-law that is his new Arab advisor is the Lebanese Nigerian in-law, of course. But Trump also pardoned his loyalists.
Oh, yeah.
Many of them.
He pardoned he pardoned an American military officer that was convicted of war crimes, including killing a young child in Iraq. He pardoned people who were found guilty of colluding with Russia.
Now he is saying it's a miscarriage of justice, and then he's now threatening to pardon those capital rioters.
Who were actually calling, and something that people sometimes forget is that they were calling for the death of some lawmakers like Nancy Pelosi. They were actually actively trying,
destroy public property in the bargain.
Okay, we have to go. Financial Times. NATO chief warns Trump of threat to U.S. if bad peace deal is forced on Kyiv. The Secretary General of North Atlantic Treaty Organization is warning Trump that U.S. will face a dire threat from China, Iran, and North Korea if Ukraine is compelled to accept a poor peace deal from Russia. While President-elect Donald Trump, we know, is a friend of Russia and may not have an appetite to tour the European path, Europe will have to deal with him, Chooks.
It's going to be a new world order, definitely, with Trump's second coming. And that's why Ukraine already is developing cold feet, and so is NATO. That's what they're telling Trump. Hey, don't hand us what they call bad peace, bad deal. Let us handle this our own way. But everybody's actually wary of how Trump is going to deal with the situation in Ukraine. And that's why his NATO, they are sounding the warning bells that if you try this, China is coming after us, Russia is coming after us, North Korea is coming after us. So we've got to be very careful the way we handle the situation, the peace deal in Ukraine.
All right, that's all.
Presidency can assure the Northerners say justice go dey for every state across the nation. Say the tax bill now waiting they suppose accept because it go bring stability to the economy. The tax reform bill don't collect many criticisms since they introduced am. Senator Alun himself don't talk before say the tax bill now they dead on arrival. But Senator Ali, they may not stop the implementation because many National Assembly members say the reason why the tax bill need implementation because according to history, you don't see when they visit tax reform bill and the one with the operator don't be outdated. Senator Serakin Dixon now go to come and talk say they no fit dey pay by some money give Lagos State. Say this tax bill now welcome development say e go correct all the concern when they get. Say every state now got to get the dividends of what they consume for the state. No be say money when they generate for Bayelsa they go pay and give Lagos State because say the company when they operate for Lagos State get headquarters for for Bayelsa get headquarters for Lagos. Understand? So this now waiting the tax bill need to correct. So Northerners, may na calm down, make una settle insecurity for our place, may na go farm, go dey do productive activity. On our governors no dey help matters, may na go talk to our governor. You understand? On our governors no dey help to the restore peace for the area. Imagine the local governors go they go catch Boko Haram people, they go see the repentant Boko Haram, they go rehabilitate them, they go recruit them into the security personnel, they go recruit them into their police. Military say now the Peter Boko Haram. Imagine governors when they negotiate with criminals. How peace won't come the region? So men are go settle on our region. You understand?